Hey everyone, thanks so much for coming back to my channel. My name is Karen. I'm an astrologer, a tarot reader, an art therapist, and I love to look at the world through an archetypal lens, how story and myth and patterns are actually active in our lives and how we can work with those energies rather than against them. So I had said in an earlier video that I was going to make a series about how Pluto acts in your chart. What does it mean? And I realized I need to make this video first because I need to talk a little bit about how astrology in my world works and what I think about it. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think astrology works. So your birth chart is a picture of the heavens, of the sky, of the planets when you were born. And for simplicity's sake, we all know there's millions of stars and galaxies, billions out there. But for simplicity's sake, we're looking at the 10 major planets that all astrologers agree on are actually viable to work with. So you'll have the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. 10 planets, 10 archetypes. And what these planets are in a symbolic way basically are the actors on the stage of your life. The stage is that circle that you see in this image. That's your stage. And that stage is divided in 12 equal, actually, yes, in 12 equal slices. So the 12 slices are the areas of your life. So for instance, the first house is all about you. The seventh house is about your primary relationship with your spouse or maybe even your business partner. The fourth house is about nurturing, it's about mother, it's about where you're at home and so forth. So all those houses are different areas. The actors are the planets themselves. So in my chart, for instance, the actor called Saturn, the one who gives structure and order and following the rules and all that, might be located in my fourth house. So, which again, I just said means home and mother. So I might have had a mother that is very organized and very structured, but also imposing that order on me and how that impacts me. Or I might have the planet Mars in my seventh house, which would make me be the one in relationships that takes the initiatives and goes after people I'm interested in, just saying. So that's what the planets are. And then the signs, the way that works is that's the costume that these actors are actually working. So going back to Saturn in my fourth house, if I, let's say, had a Saturn in Leo, a Leo is someone who is a natural, actually, actor, someone who likes to be on stage, who wants to be seen and is dressed to the nines and all that. And my Saturn, my structure and order, would wear that costume. And it would be a bit of a weird thing for it because Saturn doesn't really like to be on stage and in the limelight, which already starts off this nuanced thing that is happening in your chart. So you have all these different components that are being combined in an area of your life as an archetypal energy with a costume or an outlook that they're wearing. And there's 7 billion people on the planet, and even twins born at the same time don't have the same birth chart. There's always a minute difference, even though it's very similar. And people that are, let's say, I know a woman, Australian woman, I'm born in Germany, she was born in Australia. We were born 4 hours apart, same day, same year. And we have very different charts because of the way the stage shifts, and my people, my actors, ended up in a different area of my life than in hers. Okay, so next thing, what's super important is your birth time. So your birth time defines the areas, the houses, how they're being laid out. The number one thing it determines is your rising sign. So your rising sign is the sign that was rising in the east when you were born. And this could be Aries rising, it could be Scorpio rising. So it would be the mask that you wear, the thing that people, when they first get to meet you, the thing that they see, not necessarily your true personality, but the thing that you sort of show publicly. So if you were an Aries rising, you'd be like very sort of in people's faces and present and going for stuff. If you're a Scorpio rising, you'd be very guarded and you not show a whole, you'd be polite, but you have to sort of air off what's really behind that. Like people would want to know what the mystery is behind the Scorpio, because Scorpio plays their cards very close to the chest. If you don't know your exact birth time, you can start by looking for your birth certificate. Here in the US, lots of times it's on there. If you don't, you can call or get in touch with the Hall of Records at your birth city, or easier even, you can go to vitalcheck.com. I'll link that in the comments, and you can get your birth certificate there. Make sure you get the long form version that actually has the birth time. Second thing you can do is ask your mother, which is not the most reliable because she was a little busy giving birth to you and probably wasn't staring at the clock. Although I have some friends who gave birth and I'm like, you better look at the clock when this baby comes out. Actually, usually that I'm making do that. Anyway, so your mom may or may not be reliable. If she wrote it down, there's a chance that it's correct, but just be cautious. Also, I'd be suspicious, I think, of birth times like 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 2 p.m., because it's just never quite on the nose. And 4 minutes, the chart moves a degree every 4 minutes, so it could be the difference between changing from one sign to the next. So it really is important. If your mom doesn't know and your city can be, or like, again, I'm from Germany, so we don't keep track of birth times in our records. If that doesn't work, you can actually go to the astro-app.net, who does rectification, which means you basically reverse engineer by filling out a bunch of questions like, is your dad still alive? When did your dad die? When did you have your first child? When did you get married? When did you move countries? Sort of these different things. And you can actually, this used to be done by hand. I actually had my chart rectified many years ago by a Hindu astrologer. And instead of being 10:30, I am actually born at 10:14 a.m. And then just a couple of years ago or so, I reran it through this site and they come up with 10:13, which is an acceptable deviation. So this stuff works. Next. So going back to this image, as I said, this is the setup that you've been given to go through this life and to achieve what you came here to do. I believe our souls are immortal and multidimensional, and I believe that we keep coming back over and over to learn different lessons. I believe that we choose the lessons that we learn, even though we may hate them when we come down here. I do think we're much more in charge of our life than we think. So, what areas of your stage have active syndrome? Again, these are the houses. So what part of your life is being emphasized this time around? So is it finance? Is it transformation? Is it money? Who knows? I mean, we know because we look at the chart. Which actors or archetypal energies or planets are located where? Is your moon in your 12th house and wants to be really like hiding from the world? Or is your moon in your first house? It just carries, shows it, how do you say? Shows your heart on your sleeve. Where's your heart on your sleeve? Shows all your emotions. How are they dressed? These are the signs. So I might have a moon in the first house that is dressed in Pisces, which would be very sort of soft and flowing. Or I might have a moon in the first house that's dressed in, I don't know, Sagittarius, which is the explorer and the truth teller. And it would be much more outgoing and fiery than the Pisces moon. So how are these actors being dressed? How are they flavored? Who are they actually on top of the basic energy and that they're actually carrying? And then lastly, what are their relationships to each other? If you look at this illustration, there is a group of people here in the same house, in the 8th house. So this person here would have a lot of emphasis on the 8th house of transformation. And the 8th house rules all kinds of things. It rules sex, it rules death, both transformational experiences. It rules other people's money, it rules taxes. So it's all these things that are requiring us to undergo change or to be willing to surrender to those forces. And as you can see, there's 4 people right here, 4 planets. So there's a lot going on. Now, actually I'm not going to go into this. Then you have, then you have over here, you have a couple of people in the 2nd house. And what you see here are red lines. This is an opposition. So opposing that, the exact opposite, in the 2nd house, it's all about values, and it's about your money and what's important to you, what you value. It's about having, it's about safety and security, what makes you feel safe. And for lots of people it's money in the bank. I mean, understandable. So these 2 forces are kind of opposed, and one of those things in this lifetime would be to make peace between those 2. You also have down here in the 4th house, you have a group of people, group of planets, and then someone up here in the 10th house. So again, there's the relationship between these actors, and really the question for you, if this is your chart, becomes, what is the play? I'm the director. What script am I going to give them? Which actors do I make friends with? Which ones am I trying to ignore? Of course, we all do that. That's our shadow aspect. And how can I figure out how to make these guys all apart as equally as possible off the play, and make it my life really very rich, rather than to have stick just to one side of the chart. And then this one, I don't know if you can read it with my little thing over there, but the headline is The Beauty and Horrors, and the horrors of reading a birth chart. The beauty is that there's so much information, and the horror is that there's so much information, because it becomes what's important and what's really prevalent in this moment. And I think for most astrologers, it's sort of a lifelong undertaking to look at just the pertinent parts, and to find a way to give it meaning in an order of importance. Cookbook astrology. So if you've ever had your chart done and had a report sent to you, you might have probably have had an experience where it said, Sun in Scorpio, you're secretive, and you can be revengeful, and you're a great friend and you're loyal, but if someone betrays you, that's it, they're done. And then it'll say Moon in Leo, and it'll say, or what's opposite, Moon in Taurus, you're very slow, and not actually slow. You work, your being in the world is very steady and sort of thought out and methodical and whatever. And it seems to, in some cases, it seems like it's contradicting itself. And that is, again, the beauty and the horrors, because you get all these disparate pieces, and the journey of a lifetime, the play of your life, is to bring all of them into something harmonious so they can all work together. But if you do this just looking at one aspect of your chart, which is this next bullet point, in isolation, you can sort of get a tilted kind of view of who you are. So anything I will do here, because of the way this medium works, I'm not doing whole chart interpretations. I will just, in this upcoming series, will say you have Pluto in the 7th house, and these are the challenges and the lessons that are being presented to you. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on that's not going to be the same for all the people who have the 7th house. I'm sorry, yes, it is the same, but it'll be impacted by whatever else is going on. Lastly, what is an aegon? The astrologer Lawrence Hillman actually coined that term. Thank you, Mr. Hillman. And it stems from the theater, and the fact that there is both a protagonist and an antagonist in all stories, in all good stories. And basically the idea that there are forces that are working against each other. And most, if not all of us, have an aegon in our chart, have these disparate parts that are kind of, we're trying to bring together, and that's what Carl Jung called the process of integration. So we can have things that are part of our shadow personality where we don't want to deal with it, we think it's not worth even going there, and we don't value it. So let's say you have someone who's a high-powered CEO and who has some planets in very soft signs like Cancer or Pisces that are very emotional, and he's trying to not own that and not go there. And this Mr. Mrs. CEO would be very much served to integrate that part into her everyday life and into the play of her life, because she would be much more able to empathize with or emotionally connect with the people that she's working with and managing and leading. So an aegon is something that's sort of a signature in your chart. It'll sort of give you a main idea of what you're working on. Also, some north and south node stuff plays into that, but now we're getting into the details. That's my problem. I keep getting into the details. So I'm going to stop. If you are interested in what your aegon is, you can, my website's on the bottom. You can book me there and we can talk about it. I also do tarot, which is a bit of a different way of working with archetypal astrology, and really shows more the picture of what's happening in this very moment and what the energies are of the things that you are engaging in. Whereas the chart is, that's it, that you got the chart, you got the players, you got the costumes, and that's what you got to work with. And then finally, my 2 cents about fate versus free will, which you might have heard through what I'm saying already, what my position is on that. I think we choose. I think we always have a choice. I think every planet in every sign, there is a spectrum that you can express this planet. You can be the evil axe murderer on this side, or you can take it to this side and be the protector of the widows and the orphans. This was very simplified. So you have a choice in how you express that chart, that energy. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it will take personal growth and it takes work and it takes facing the elements in your chart that you might not be comfortable with. But I do believe that it's richly rewarding if you are willing to look at what these hidden treasures are and to integrate them in your life. And again, if you are interested in that, see me on my website. If you are watching this for the first time, thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video. Please keep coming back and check for more information. Thanks again and have a great weekend. Take care.